Indian cinema, as you know, has been one of our pillars, has been one of the most important aspects when we talk about India. The world of media and entertainment have always been very integral parts of the communication of our land. And it will be wonderful to find out actually the thoughts that we have on this platform. Amir, let me just begin with you by asking, when we think of Indian cinema today, where do you think we're at?
Well, I think it's going through a change. I think from the time that I came into the industry, from the time that I used to watch films, I'm talking of late 70s to late 80s, I as a viewer was fairly disappointed with the bulk of the films at that point of time. I call this the disco era. And I was an audience at that time, and I used to feel, what happened? We made such lovely films in the 50s and 60s. And the kind of writing, the kind of music, the kind of lyrics, the kind of performances in every department. I'm not saying that there was nothing at all to speak about in the late 70s to late 80s, but there was a significant drop. And I feel that from the late 80s onwards, there's been a gradual change that's been happening very, very organically. Very, very organically, I think there's a gradual change that's been happening. And a number of things have also then propelled it, and the coming in of multiplexes is one such event, but importantly the coming in of fresh young talent with their own voices, with their own sensibilities, and I think that has really changed Indian cinema. At one time we had a pretty narrow understanding of what is mainstream Indian cinema, and if you look at that definition of what was mainstream Indian cinema in the late 70s to late 80s, that definition actually is a very scary kind of film to make today. Right. You're pretty much, not going to be mainstream if you try that kind of a film. So the definition of what is mainstream has constantly been changing, and it is, like it was very narrow at one point, but now it's really widened. And you have filmmakers who want to pick different scripts, films that earlier would have not been ever made, or if they had been made would not have been released, are now being seen by people, by a large number of people. So the audience has also changed, and I think the filmmakers have brought in a fresh voice. So it's a period, I think, of transition and change, which is very good.
Well, I think just to put that into context, also the lines which Amir, I think, are now blurring between what we know as parallel or alternate and mainstream. And you've been, I think, one of the pioneers of that movement. Like what we considered a parallel movement in the 80s were films like prolific filmmakers like Shyam Benegal or Govind Nihalani that actually helmed that movement of alternate cinema. But when a film like Tare Zameen Par releases, which would have been considered, if I am not incorrect, an art house film in the 70s or the 80s.
It would have not been released only.
It may not have found a release.
But it went on to become one of the biggest hits of the year.
One of the biggest hits of the year. So as what Amir, I suppose, is expressing the fact that the lines are blurring, and I think that's an exciting time for filmmakers who are choosing interesting subjects and yet putting it out there in the mainstream milieu, and we have fortunately studios that are supporting it. Deepika, you made your debut in 2007 with a thundering success. You come from a sports background, and this was not something that you actually thought that you would really saunter into, but you'd had, and you were immediately equated to Hema Malini and Aishwarya Rai, and everybody compared you to the greats. Did you feel the pressure in your debut film?
Not at all, actually. I think I went in there not knowing anything at all, and I think that sort of just allowed me to just be and enjoy the experience. And the only thing that I remember is the time that I've spent on that film set, and every film that I've done after that for me has been a learning experience, because like you said, I'd never been on a film set before my first film. So everything that I am today, or that I've learned, has been the physical time that I have spent on a film set, interacting with directors, co-stars, and from my own mistakes.
And your own mistakes?
Yeah.
Professionally or personally?
Both.
Okay. A lot is said about the shelf life of a mainstream actress, that, you know, there is an 8 to 10 year window, especially for leading actress, that, you know, post that the roles are not substantial and, you know, they don't have, like in Indian cinema doesn't offer you the opportunity that perhaps other cinemas in the world do to female parts. This year, of course, has broken many myths already, because a lot of the main successes of the year have been female driven, you know, and of course, you're a leading actress today, and what do you have to say about like this myth that surrounds mainstream actors and their shelf life?
I think for me that question itself is wrong. And the
Thank
only
you.
time... It's true. And the day we stop asking this question, or the day we stop acknowledging it, I think is the day we'll be able to start making a change and do things differently.
All right. Such emphasis also,
Thank you.
Amir. Such emphasis, Amir, on box office these days. It's
Too much
it's
emphasis on box
It's
office.
become almost like a talk point. Like even I've been in elevators, I've been in dinner parties which have nothing to do with the film fraternity, and everyone asks you, is your film a 100 crore film? Is it, how many did you do 80? Did you do 90, 250, 150? It's like almost like the audience is second guessing the box office before forming an opinion about the film. What is your take on this entire,
You know,
number
I don't
game?
want to blame the audience for this. I think a lot of us from the industry are to blame for this, because if we are looking at numbers when we are even taking decisions about what film to make, then that's going to percolate down to the audience as well. So I think one of the most damaging things that is happening today is a lot of the top filmmakers, successful actors, actresses are only focusing on what they think that would be a 100 crore film or a 200 crore film, and they're selecting scripts based on that. Many times they go wrong in any case. When I say they, I mean we. I'm including myself. So we really have to stop looking at numbers if we want. I mean, this is, you know, a field of creativity. I should have a story to tell. I have to be excited about what I'm part of telling. And I can pick a script. For example, when I picked Tare Zameen Par, obviously I was not aiming at a 100 crore film. But that doesn't stop me from making it. When I'm doing a Talash, obviously I'm not aiming at a 100 crore film. But the subject matter moves me, so I want to do it. In selecting my films, I have to allow my creativity and my heart to rule. And then in the practical aspect of making it, I have to make sure, as one of the team members, that we make it economically. That the amount that we spend on the film is recovered by the people investing the money. So that is also a responsibility. But I can't choose films based on, I think this film is going to do, you know, big business, and therefore I'm choosing this film. And that is happening a bit too much, I feel. In fact, if you see the better cinema, the more unusual films is coming out of young filmmakers, you know, a film like Queen.
Right.
Or a film like Kahani. These are stories which are unusual, which are coming out, and the rest of the, you know, I feel a lot of the top people who are already very successful are very afraid to experiment. And I think we need to let go of that fear if we really want to grow. That's one thing I really feel strongly.
No, that is correct. And Deepika, I think you also come from that same train of thought, because some of your film choices have been also like, you know, like your choice to do a Finding Fanny, or like you're in the midst of shooting a film called Piku, which is again unusual in it.
Can I add something here? I'm
Yes,
so sorry.
of course. Please add.
I'm so sorry. You know, I want to ask all of you, what is your favorite film from the, let's say, the 50s or 60s or even 70s? Like for me, it's Mughal-e-Azam or Pyasa. I don't know what the box office business of those films were, and I don't care. They're
Right.
films that really move me. They're films that enrich me. It doesn't matter what the number of the box office figure was. These are amazing films. They're life-changing experiences when you're viewing them. And that is what is more important for us. So we have to let go of this number thing.
And also, it's good to acknowledge that not every blockbuster is a good film.
Not every blockbuster is a good film. Nowadays, there's also so much fudging of numbers. Everyone is just giving any numbers they want. So, I mean, you can say what you want pretty much.
Yeah, of course, that is definitely, there is like...
And that's a result of this, you know, okay, everyone wants to be 100 crore, 200 crore. Now, you know, I was speaking to a bunch of journalists the other day, and I said, why do you print these numbers? You don't even know whether I'm speaking the truth. I'm telling you my film is 200 crores, you're just printing it. Ask me for my DCRs, daily collection report. If I'm saying my film is 200 crores, I should show it to you on the DCR. And then you should be happy to print it. But none of that happens.
Well, I mean, it's become, as I said, a way forward in terms of, it's just the perception of a film is purely based on its box office, unfortunately.
वो हमने ही create किया है वो. I am not blaming the audience for that. Audience are not bothered. They want to just see a good film and enjoy themselves.
Right. No, that's true. Studios and production houses to blame. I will take a note of that. Some of us actually. I've been attacked on this platform.
No, and I'll tell you one more thing. Now that I'm interrupting you.
But it's true.
Yeah, now we're opening up. Yes, it's true, my darling. What happened? What did you have to say? Tell us. Talk to us.
You said it. Before I said it, you said it.
No, so cinema.
But Karan, again, I want to interrupt you over here. I'm so sorry. See the other.
Please welcome the new moderator of this session, Amir Khan. Deepika and I are here to provide glamour and beauty. In that order, hopefully.
So, with due apology, I want to interrupt this for the last time, but I want to say that, there's a lot of also things happening in the media. For example, we are sitting here in HT, and there are a number of newspapers and media houses, even television ones, which sell editorial space. I mean, it's so silly. I'm buying a editorial space in which I'm claiming I have done this, I have done that and the other. Who am I fooling? First of all, I'm fooling myself. So I often say, why do we make a film? First, I should buy editorial and say, I'm about to start this film. Then I should buy editorial and say, hey, this film is progressing really well, the shooting is going really good. Then I say that it's about to release. And then I say it's released and it's done so many 100 crores. I don't need to make the film.
Yeah.
Why am I making the film? Just buy 4, articles.
That's true.
Sorry, have I said something wrong?
No. I don't know actually. We'll find out the ramifications of this on Twitter very soon.
Okay.
About your comments. She's already laughing. Speaking of controversies and problems, Deepika, you really went quite strongly on record about a certain visual of yours that was put online, and I think that you made a strong statement. And hats off to Deepika. I think she went on record, and I think as a woman and as a human being, over and above, as a woman, I think that you projected yourself in the perfect light and stood up. And do you have a final statement to make about what happened? Because there's so much said about it.
No, I think I really said what I had to say. And that's about it, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about attacking one person or trying to create any kind of negativity. It's about standing up for yourself and making people realize and aware of where we are as a society going wrong, right. I think.
And I'm sure you have a comment to make on this, Amir.
No, I was really impressed by what the stand that Deepika took, and I really feel that it's a responsibility of all of us. When I say media, I'm including films, television, I'm including the press, and we talk and our ad films. So we talk about. I mean, for me, it's always been very disturbing how we depict women. In all of these spaces, I would say, not only films, it's also in ads, it's also in our newspapers, how we depict women in our newspapers. I'm not talking of, so you have a great article about, women empowerment on the front page or the second page, and then somewhere else you have something really absurd, like, hey, look at so-and-so's cleavage, and something like that. Or, so it just doesn't make sense to me. We have to have some responsibility, some responsibility we need to have if we really, and everyone is so caught up in a race, I feel. And there is a race which we are running, and we don't know where we are headed also. It's just a race we are running, and sometimes it's just because I want to be more successful, sometimes it's because I want to be more rich, and I feel that I have to just do the things to earn more money, and there is so much attention to that we just stop living with happiness and doing what our heart actually tells us to do. And that's a sad thing, I feel.
Also, a flip side of this, completely on a different zone, do you sometimes feel that cinema is a soft target for absolutely everything? Like it's used like,
It is.
Because I know I'm coming from a place and I'm fighting court cases on every film for sometimes really redundant reasons.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, I've got every film gets us a fresh batch of cases against us.
Yeah.
Which is why I made friends with Rajiv Luthra. So, but you're absolutely right. It is a soft target. And that's unfortunate. But we have to stand strong against that, I feel. We have to stand strong against that. I remember you had a problem with one of your films earlier.
Right.
And I don't know whether you know this, but I had nothing to do with your film. It was called, I think, My Name is Khan.
Yeah.
And I had nothing to do with your film, but when I heard about it, I was not in Bombay at that time, and I heard about it, and I called up every chain of theatres. I called the people heading the chains of theatres, the people who own them, and I said, look, you guys should not bend under pressure. This may not be my film, but I'm making the phone call because I want you to know that you should not weaken at this point of time. Do not be scared, and the entire industry is with you. If 2 or 3 glass breaks in your theatre, we'll put up a new one. But don't bend to threats, and don't. So we have to take a strong stance.
But do you find that the fact that we don't have unity within the fraternity a big problem?
Yeah, that is. I really wish that we did have much more unity, and we thought collectively. In my, I don't want to go into SMJ because that's a dangerous area, because I'll start only talking about that. But one small thing I want to say over here is two of my biggest learnings from SMJ is that wherever we found people working collectively and as a group and thinking for the entire group as opposed to thinking only about myself, over there we found prosperity, happiness, even wealth. I'm talking of villages even.
Right.
And wherever we found the attitude of people who were living together as a community or as a village or as a town was, I need to do what is right for me, we found that they were not even prosperous. There was a lot of poverty, there was a lot of problems. So this is one big learning, and if we have to start thinking, I have to stop thinking only about myself. I have to start thinking for us as a group, us as a society, us as a country. That's the way I have to think. And each one of us has to, I strongly believe that.